Barak Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rawchaa Qadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Mass Death is Coming. And pretty much I was watching a video the other day with the priest, the young elder, up and coming elder, Gabar, and he did a video 2 days ago. Watch this. They've been literally casting demons this whole time. And what you're looking at here is, I'm gonna, speak in algorithms a little bit. P-Ride month. All right, just saying it that way so to throw the algos off. Now, if you notice, they have highlighted in the rainbow colors the middle of that phrase, those two words. And as you can see right there, the word demon, right? So what the spirit jumped on the priest Gabar to do was to put the first three letters and the last two letters together, which is prith. And he looked that word up, prith, and it means to cast. All right, is the casting of demons. And I noticed this too on Google. They got this metrosexual, dude voguing, with the disco ball and all that, because that's the vibration that they're pushing out here. And a brother had sent me during the last week, during the time when was burning. Canada was burning, and that smoke was coming into New York. They had a billboard, with a woman, so-called goddess, which is Lilith, and pretty much they were pushing that whole vibration, and I believe it was dated for 6/6/2023, which 66, the number 6, is centered around Esau, which is really 666, but the 6 sometimes represents Esau. And I forget exactly how the wording was on that banner, in New York, and it just so happened to come, or it just so happened to be posted up there just prior to, that smoke and the air quality being so effed up on so-called P-Ride month, and there's a lot of stuff going on because the Lord is about to judge this place. But before the Lord judges this place, there's going to be an all-out assault on the Israelites and an all-out assault on humanity too. Okay, it says, welcome to hell, New York. The water, bro. Look at that, man. The brother all the way in Australia knows, and I don't even know. That's a damn shame. The water, my brother. And shalom to you out there, in the land down under. All right, just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to get that. Boom, there we go. See, the brother is on the money. Boom, there you go. Diablo 4, which is a game. It says, welcome to hell, New York, 6/6/23. And around this time, this is when the smoke and everything covered that area. So pretty much they were telling you that something is coming. Years ago, I don't remember the year, but they had, I believe it was Shiva, that was portrayed on the Shiva was portrayed on the Empire State Building. They had so-called endangered species. They had different animals that were on the endangered species, and then they had Shiva. Shiva is the goddess of destruction of the Elamites, and they're pushing this vibration heavy. Now this morning when I got up, the Bishop Ainap Qadash, the Bishop Ainap sent me this video here, Lilith Returns, how KFC is promoting Satanism with Diablo 4, you know. And like I said, I'm not really too familiar with Diablo 4. I believe it was some kind of game or some crazy shit. But the point is that they're pushing the vibration of Satan out here, because this is what Esau is setting up. And when I watch this, it talks about Lilith, and what they try to say is that in Isaiah 34:14, you know, when you go to the Hebrew, Lalayath or something like that, which they translated in English as Lilith, that's supposed to be the goddess, you know, of the night, which is nothing more than a screech owl. That's all it is. But because it says her, and they said that that was the wife, the first wife of Adam, and because she didn't want to submit to him, he had to put away some bugged out, crazy shit that, you know, that either Amalek came up with or Jake came up with back in the days, because a lot of that stuff that Amalek follows today, really a lot of Jakes put a lot of that shit together, just like the so-called Greek mythology that you see today. That was Jake that put that together. And they base it off of, when you go back to the beginning and how the Lord created man and women, you know, and that's where so-called Lilith came from, so on and so forth. It's just some bugged out shit, you know. But the point is that they're pushing this stuff out there, and they're pushing it heavy, you know. Look at this shit, you know. They're pushing that freak vibration out there because this is what these devils are comfortable with. When you go to those different, you know, elite parties, right, they push that. Like in the movie, see these masks here, they have like some bugged out stuff like this, you know. They get off on stuff like this. Why? Because that's where the spirit emanates from, the left hand side, and this is the vibration they're pushing on the world. All right. So what I was gonna do, and by the way, I put both of these videos in the description box if you want to watch it. I was gonna do last night before I lay me down to rest, you know, the thought came to go through the book of Revelation 6. So I jotted down Revelation 6, and I kind of went through it this morning. And the spirit really ain't moving me to like do the breakdown on it. But as I was meditating, you know, I was going for my walk and meditating on it, I want to highlight some points in there that pretty much will make the point of this mass death that's coming, you know. And when we go to Revelation 6, I'm going to start at the I'm not going to start at the first verse. I'm going to start at the third verse. When we go to Revelation 6 and 3, this is talking about the second, they say second seal war, but it's just the second seal. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red. Now we know through the spirit that this is dealing with Esau. When you read the word horse in the scriptures, sometimes it speaks about an actual horse, and sometimes it's speaking about power. In this case, it's speaking about power. This whole chapter where it speaks about the horse, you know, the first verse to the eighth verse, when it speaks about the horse, it's talking about power. And the first horse being Yahawashi, and he's gonna have power when he comes back. You know, then you have the second horse, which is red, which is Esau's horse, which is their power. Because remember, they were given the power over the planet Earth to, you know, to have the fatness of the earth. But how did they receive that fatness of the earth? They received it by way of their sword. You know, that was the blessing that was given to them by Isaac. You know, let's see, Apostle, they did a whole ritual in Sydney about the whole Diablo game. Laugh aloud, Lord willing, I can do a video on it in the AM. All right, cool, brother, cool. If you can, if you could just post, you know, when you do the video, if you could just post a link on one of my videos, I would greatly appreciate it, my brother, because so many videos going up, it's hard to keep up with everything. But that would be something I would love to see. All right, so pretty much, you know, the horse that was red, that's dealing with Esau and the power that he has over the planet Earth and how he attained these riches. That's why it says riches gotten by deceit. It speaks about they that get these things by wrong, pretty much are not going to enjoy them. I'm just merely paraphrasing them, because they're really gathering them for him that will pity the poor, which is who? The Most High is going to have Esau gather these riches to give to us, the Israelites. So this red horse, it says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And you notice how when we go from the second horse that's red, taking peace from the earth, then you have the next horse, which is black, and then the next horse, which is pale. See, so it follows in a succession in this case. Now, the first horse really was dealing with Yahawashi, which is going to come at the end, of all of these things happening. All right. So it takes peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Now, the killing one another, you're going to have Edomites fighting against each other also. Why? Because you're going to have those that are Bible thumping, which some of them are Jakes, and they, are patriotic, and they're going to fight against, the ones that are not, that are trying to destroy all of the freedoms, that everyone has. So there's going to be a class war between Edomites themselves, between other nations too, that everybody's going to be involved, but you're going to actually have Edomites fighting against other Edomites. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptians. Why? Because when we read the first verse, it's talking about the burden of Egypt, which a burden is, something that's going to come upon them that they're going to have to bear, and Egypt today, modern day Egypt, is America, spiritually known as Egypt. The Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, because when Yahawashi comes, he's coming on a swift cloud. He's not coming on a regular cloud. He's coming on a chariot that's going to be swift. It says, and shall come into Egypt. Why? Because he said, I am come to send peace on. Don't think that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. I came to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So he's coming to do war and battle with these devils. In righteousness he does judge and make war. It says, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. Right, because all of these thoughts and ideas, no matter what it is, are all geared and based on particular religions, religious beliefs, so on and so forth. It says, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Why? Because Egypt today, America, is strong, but when Yahawashi and the angels come back, they're not going to have the power, that they thought that they had to fight against the Lord, especially when they see the power that the angels, Yahawashi and the angels, are coming in. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So you're going to have, class wars, wars amongst their own kind. It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother. See? And that's what's coming. This is what we're reading in the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter, because you have those patriotic Edomites that don't want this system to collapse because they like it the way it is. And you have those that want to bring in the New World Order, which goes totally against and steals and robs all of the rights and freedoms of the people. It says, and everyone against his neighbor. See, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. So we're about to witness these things, even on a higher level, because the end is coming. All right. Now, so let's go back. And then it says that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So what is that great sword? That is the power that the Lord gave them. And no one on the planet has mastered the use of this gun, this weaponry, like Esau has. All right, so Genesis 27:39 says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, because he was crying, because he sold his birthright and he got supplanted for his blessing. So he was crying for a blessing. So Isaac said, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And you see that when you look at these so-called bankers, they got it by deceit, fraud, and all of that. But when you look at them, they are living lovely, you know. The scriptures say that they have more than heart could wish. You know, they're not in trouble as other men. They're not in need as other men. You know, their calf gendereth, meaning their businesses flourish. You know, they have more than heart could wish. You know, there's nothing that they can't attain or achieve. There's nothing that they can't get. Why? Because they have the riches of the world. These are the ungodly that prosper in the world. But now, how did they get it? Well, it goes on to say, and by thy sword shalt thou live. And that's how they got, you know, all of these riches, the fatness of the earth, by their sword. Because two things that America provides is so-called financial, you know, or economic help and military help. And there's no other, you know, nation on the planet that has a military like America. And then you have a combination of America, NATO, and the EU. And that's, you know, that spells disaster for anyone that comes against them. This is why you have to have major powers like Russia, China, with other like India, you know, having to try to get up in there to even have a chance against this military. No, they don't have the manpower that China has, but as far as military is concerned, they have a great arsenal. You know why? Because this is their blessing. Why don't you see Moabites and Ammonites and all that be the ones on the planet, or the Elamites or other nations be the ones on the planet that have this great military might? You know, that this great weaponry. Why don't you see that? Why don't you have those Japhetic people like the Samoans and them, you know, the ones that are not Israelites, you know, and others, you know, the Aborigines of Australia and things like that? Why don't they have this great military power? Because none of them are the Edomites. Not even the Ishmaelites have that type of power, because they're not the Edomites either. This blessing was given to the Edomites, you know, and by thy sword shalt thou live. You know, and this is how they've lived ever since they were created. And we see now, since roughly around 333 BC to the present, how they got the world, you know, through their military might, because the Lord gave it to them. It says, and shall serve thy brother, which they did, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And that happened during the time of the kings of Judah, you know. But nevertheless, they still had the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven, and they still live by the sword to this very day. See, there are things that these devils have that they do, you know, because the Lord gave it to them in prophecy. And if your eyes are open prophetically, you know, and spiritually, you'll be able to see. And these are some good precepts that brothers put out. Let me read these real quick. Revelation 18:7, how much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously. So how was she able to live deliciously? Because she took these things from these nations, and she's living in that manner. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right. You know, therefore shall a place come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord that judgeth her, and it's only going to take 1 hour. So going back to Revelation 6, you get that this is Esau, and they took peace from the earth. You know, this is why, since America's been, you know, in power, they haven't known too much peace. The majority of the years that America's been in power, there's been wars. There's only probably been, like a 10, 12 year time periods when there wasn't no war or something along those lines. Our elder Yahawah had done a lesson on that before. Why? Because these are the men of war. These are the Edomites that were given the sword, and they took peace from the earth. Now when we go into the third seal, it deals with the famine. And it's also dealing with judgment that's coming upon the earth. It says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see, and behold, and lo, a black horse. Horse represents power. Black represents darkness. You know, this is going to be a time of judgment that is going to be brought upon the earth. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. What are the balances? The balances represent judgment that the Lord is about to set upon the earth. This is why when we go to 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter, and the 36th verse, it says, and unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of the seeds is filled in you, for he hath weighed the world in the balance. So the Most High weighed the world in a balance. And we're coming to the point now where this balance, or this part of the judgment, which is the hard times that are coming, famines and all of that, we're at that point now. We're at the tipping point of that. All right. It says, by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. Right. So everything has a set number, a set date when it goes into effect. And he does not move nor stir them until the set measure be fulfilled. Right. So going back to Revelation 6, the judgment is about to come. The world has been weighed in the balance. All right. It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil or the wine. Right. And pretty much when somebody sees this, they would think, oh man, that means that food is going to be cheap. No. When you understand the weight of a penny as it's used in the scriptures. Let's see, the brothers put let me see. The U.S. has been at war for more than 92% of the time. See, research conducted by the Jan Group and Geo Television Network reveals that the United States has been at war for about 225 of the 243 years since its inception in 1776. And prior to that, they were at war with Gad, with Reuben, with Issachar. They failed to tell you that. All right. So when you go into this word penny, the word penny is pretty much a day's wage. So pretty much what it takes you, because if you had a measure of wheat, you'd be able to cook bread and cook different things for a certain period of time, depending on how much it was. But now it's gonna take a whole day's wage just to get that. So you're gonna be barely scraping by, and what's that gonna cause? That's gonna cause a lot of hardship. That's gonna cause hunger. That's gonna cause starvation, famine, chaos. And when people start getting in that panicky state, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna start going at each other. Let's go to Revelation. I'm sorry, not Revelation. Why I say Revelation? Same book, 2nd Ezra's. Let's go to the 15th chapter. And let's go to the let's go to the 5th verse. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So this is what the black horse is about, and going into the pale horse. All right. For wickedness has exceedingly polluted the earth, the whole earth. See, back then, when the nations, the Greeks and the Romans and the Persians and the Medes and the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Egyptians, when they had power as a kingdom or an empire, they didn't govern the whole planet, the whole earth. They only governed what was known as the known world at the time. Today, through America has brought into her grasp the whole entire planet, the whole entire earth. For wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And this is why we see the things happening right now. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods. Because of what? Because of the lack of bread. And for what? Great tribulation. And these great tribulations, are going to increase because you have the time of Jacob's trouble that's coming. And once Jacob's trouble comes, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Remember, the scriptures say, through much tribulation we shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. This is why it's imperative to let brothers out there and sisters know that it ain't going to get easy. It's going to be hard. So the best thing to do is stay prayed up, keep on praying, do the best that we can to please the Lord so we can find ourselves in his good graces, and arm our minds, with this information, this knowledge. And knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure, because these are the things that's going to build a mental hedge for us in that day. And also, when these devils come in, remember, the scriptures say, let's get that real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 59, one of my favorite scriptures. Isaiah 59 and 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west. And the ones that are going to be protected are the elect, which are going to fear and reverence the names of Yahawah, Bashem, Yahawashi. And we are in the western hemisphere. It says, and his glory from the rising of the sun. Right. And over there on the other side of the world, you're going to have brothers and sisters that's going to be delivered. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, because that's what they're coming to do. They're going to eventually, bring a total onslaught on the people of the Lord. Why? Because the legislation that they're pushing in place and the things that are contrary to their agenda, they're going to deem these people as enemies. And they're going to justify it by means of their legislation. And this is why I said that he had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. Because they're going to not only put these laws into the books, they're also going to enforce them upon the people, and especially upon Jake. Because it says that there's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So when these things happen and the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him, because the Lord is going to make a divine intervention to where he will protect his elect. Now, some of the elect will be caught up in that, and we have to, say that and bring that out because it's a part of the gospel. It's part of the truth. But for the most part, the majority of the elect are going to be safe. They're going to be protected, but they will still be tried. That great time of testing, as it says in the NLT, I believe it is, in Revelation 3:10, which is the hour of temptation, is coming. That's the time of Jacob's trouble. But when these things happen, rest assured that somehow, some way, the Lord Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi is going to make a way where his elect are going to be delivered from the clutches of these devils. So let's go from there. Let's go to the next chapter, 2 Ezra 16 and 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? Why? Because it's going to get hard out here. It's going to be really terrible. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. See? So great deletion is coming. Mass death is coming. It says, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The powers are dealing with these governments. These empires, they're going to be in fear because of the things that are going to be shaken. It says, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Right, because he wants to be protected. The prophets, when they saw these visions, they were horribly afraid and hoping that the Lord would protect them in that day, and he will protect them because they are his messengers. But they just, at the moment, they just saw it as, oh my goodness, I hope that I get protected in that day, and they will. Just like the elect will be protected. It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a moment. So we have to remember that as the world gets more and more wicked, we become more and more vexed. But really at the same time, we shouldn't get so vexed because we should understand that these things have to come in order for the Lord to justify destroying this place, like he destroyed Sodom, Gomorrah, and the neighboring cities, like he destroyed the world by the flood back in the days. You know, like he destroyed different empires for their impieties, for their wickedness. These things must happen. It must get worse. You know, this freak spirit that's out here, you know, the P-Ride month and all of this, got to get worse and worse. You know, so that when the Lord brings the ruckus and he brings the destruction, he totally annihilates these devils. You know, meaning their power structure, their kingdoms. Then establishes the kingdom of his son and the kingdom of the rest of the Israelites. All right? It says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right, because you'll see something happen like 9/11. And what happened? People were afraid for a while, looking for God, putting flags on the back of their windows, and, you know, they're patriotic and God-fearing and carrying Bibles and going to church. I'm pretty sure the next day or that Sunday, you know, after that whole thing happened, the churches got fat, you know, because people ran, to seek shelter. But then once the smoke cleared, then members started leaving. They wasn't really praying to the Most High. They wasn't looking to the Most High no more, you know. And look at now, like 20 plus years later, these people ain't thinking about no big mishap to happen, you know. So they're not going to always be mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils what? Grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Because it's not going to be like it is now, where you can get up, you know, get ready, go to work, on the way to work, stop, get you a coffee, get you a muffin, which, you know, you shouldn't be eating no muffins anyway, you know, unless you make them yourself. You know, some righteous muffins or something like that, you know, and you know, you go and you do your work, and then you go to lunch, you know, afterwards you plan to go out, you know, to a restaurant or something, whatever, have a few drinks or whatever the case may be. It ain't going to be like that. It's going to be great confusion, you know, and what's going to bring this great confusion is pretty much first and foremost Yahawah, you know, but the system that they're putting into place right now, you know, that's going to be totally digital. That's going to pretty much, you know, your success is going to be dictated upon your obedience. Your success is going to be dictated upon your obedience. You see? And that's how you're going to be able to prosper and maneuver in this society, this new society that they're trying to bring into place, that they will bring into place to a certain degree. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Right? Because whoever is destined for these things, like it says in Jeremiah 15, that's what they're going to go for. Whoever is destined for the sword, they're going to go to the sword. Whoever is destined for, you know, these concentration camps, that's where they're going to go. Whoever is destined to be torn by animals, that's where they're going to go. Whoever is destined to die of starvation, that's where they're going to go. It says, for many of them, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. See? The deleted shall be cast out as dung. And there shall be no man to comfort them. Yeah, because it ain't going to be why? Because everybody's going to be seeking, you know, it's going to be every man for himself. For the earth shall be wasted and the city shall be cast down. Right, and that's why it's going to be hardest in these cities. You know, the cities are going to be what's going to catch the most hell. And especially in these cities, these women are going to catch the most hell. Just bear with me 1 second. Salaki for that. All right, so let's go back to Revelation 6 and 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. A pale horse represents death, destruction, mayhem, total chaos, total anarchy. You know, and it's going to be in many different forms. You know, they're already talking about bringing the next, you know, Plan D, you know. So there's going to be a lot that's going to be taking place that's going to cause a lot of death. Then a lot of people got, you know, the serpent's venom in them, you know, and put it like this. You ain't seen nothing yet compared to what's coming and the mass hysteria and the mass destruction that's coming, you know, because it's going to be very bad out here prior to the Lord coming back. Let's go to Daniel 12. The scriptures don't say this in vain, man. Daniel 12 and 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, which Michael is the archangel underneath Yahawashi. And he's going to stand up. Why? Because there's going to have to be divine intervention from the fourth dimension to protect the elect. It says, "The great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble." Let's look up this word, trouble. A time of trouble. Time is Ith, trouble is Tazarah, which Tazarah is fear. Straits, distress, trouble, vexor. So it's straits, distress, trouble. It also goes, you could tie it in with the word Yarah, which means fear. Tazarah, straits, positions of difficulty. You know, I stand corrected. I thought it was the word Yarah, but it's really a position of difficulty, which makes it even worse. So it's going to be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. So this time that's coming, there's not going to be any other time like it. It's going to be the time of Jacob's trouble. But as the Lord said, he shall be delivered from it. You know, because the elect will be delivered. It says, "And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book." In other words, the elect are going to be delivered. But the rest of these Israelites out here, the ones that don't take heed, the ones that are not listening, the ones that are not doing what they're supposed to do, which they're doing what they're supposed to do anyway because they were set up for that, they're going to be in a bad case. They're going to be in a very bad case. So going back, it says, "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was" what? Death. Mass destruction. "And hell followed him," meaning what? The grave. So that's why the name of the title is "Mass Death is Coming." "And power," see, power was given to him over the fourth part of the earth, which that's dealing with over here in America. You know, and there's going to, see, this is the, you have to understand that America is the model. Babylon the Great is the model. The catapult, the diving board for the New World Order. This is why the Most High is going to make an example of this place. And it's going to leave it as a memorial, you know, to the world, what happens to you when you become wicked. Oh yeah, you prosper. You do good. You live it up. You live lavish. You know, you living high on the hog, so to speak. But the end of that is what? Destruction. Chaos. It says to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. Right. You could throw pestilence in there. There's going to be, Yahawashi said, when he comes back, there's going to be pestilence. What's the pestilence? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Good old Matthew 24. Let's see. Right here. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and" what? "Pestilences and earthquakes in divers places." And now that people got that serpent's venom in them, you know, who knows what the hell they got in them. Loimos, pestilence, a pestilent fellow, pestilent, or pest, plague. See? Plague. Let's look up the word pestilence in the Common Dictionary, see what it says. a fatal epidemic disease, especially bubonic plague. See, so they got all kind of stuff out there. So it's going to be bad, man. It's going to be bad out here. You know, and this devil, through his technology that he has, and through the power that he has in pushing, you know, that serpent's venom, you know, people are getting effed up, man. You know, and they're planning on bleeding. And then, you know, all of the stuff that they pushing out in the air. You know, this new situation that just happened where you had these big clouds of smoke. You don't know what the hell was in that. You know? Let's go to Revelation 18. And I got one more precept and then we can close out. Revelation 18. This is after the destruction, or during the destruction. Right? It says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of a bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. As you know, this is how the nations got rich, and this is one of the ways, you know, that America is Babylon the Great. It says, for by thy what? Sorceries were all the nations deceived. And that word sorcery goes back to the word pharmakia or pharmakon, which means casting of spells, using of drugs, pharmakia, the use or the administering of drugs. And this is why these people are all messed up. Poisoning, see? That venom that was injected in their veins. Sorcery, magical arts, right? And this is also a part of it. So sorcery, magical arts, witchcraft, you know, they're all related. You know, casting of, you know, these incantations that they cast, you know, all these rituals that they do, they pretty much use drugs. When you listen to this guy, John Todd, right? John Todd spoke about being on the Council of 13, which are the 13 top witches of the illuminated ones. And he spoke on how when they cast in these spells, one of the things that they do is they're heavy on drugs, whether it's cocaine, heroin, whatever, because drugs and witchcraft go hand in hand. You know, and this is what this devil has done. He's cast spells through these drugs, whether they're just regular drugs that people use in the streets, or these statin drugs, or these drugs that are given or prescribed by doctors. You know, then, you know, the constant pushing of this agenda, you know, of the happy people, so on and so forth. You know, stuff like you see here, right there, casting of demons here, you know, this whole thing that they're pushing, where is it? Right here. This is all stuff that they're doing, that they're pushing, this whole agenda on the planet. And that's why it says in Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. And when we deal with the word witch, the word there is kashap, right? And the word kashap is to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft, sorceress, either man or woman, to whisper a spell. This is why they do a lot of incantations. But they also take drugs. And then when you go to the Greek portion of it, you have here what? Pharmakos or pharmakos, which goes back to the word pharmakia, or, as we read here, the use of the administering of drugs, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it, right? The deceptions and seductions of idolatry. And that's what they're pushing on the world. And they're not going to repent from that. It tells us that in the book of Revelation, I believe that's the 6th chapter. I think it's back in Revelation 6, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, actually Revelation 9. And 21. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Remember, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. See, pharmakia. So they're not going to repent. You know, you got these bugged out Christians trying to make these Edomites get the word. They're not going to get it. They are the devil. You know, they're not going to repent after this whole shithole goes up in flames. So if the Most High set them up that way, who the hell are you to try to change that? You know? So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom. Mass death is coming, but the Lord is going to protect his elect. Read Psalms 124th chapter. That's a very comforting scripture because it also speaks about the enemy coming in like a flood. But then the Lord grabbing up his elect from the midst of all of these traps before they're going to be in there. They're going to be in the trap. But the Lord is going to make a way to bust us out of there. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.